Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursday morning. It's Stephen Whiteside here from the uptrend.com. In the pre-market this morning, stock index futures are trading above fair value ahead of a couple of big economic numbers that are coming out at 8:30 this morning. So those are coming out in a few minutes and will probably happen while I'm recording this video. Now, yesterday morning, we were looking at higher futures prices, and of course, that reversed after the market opened. Yesterday, the Nasdaq was up 122 points. This morning, it's up over 200 points, while the other stock market indices look pretty similar. Why is the Nasdaq up so much? Well, that has a lot to do with Micron, which is up around $30 in the pre-market. Of course, that number is going to change when you take a look at it. When we look at Micron's chart, it's on a sell signal right now. If it were to end the day where it's trading right now, that would give us a new daily buy signal for Micron. Now, gold is trading down a little in the pre-market this morning. It was up $41. A lot of the world has now focused on platinum, and of course, silver has been in play for a while now, up over 5% yesterday. So all this money going into metals, it's a good thing for the Canadian stock market. It's probably not a good thing for overall investors going forward. Something's going on in the background right now that's causing investors to flood into the metals. And of course, those are called hard assets. Looking at the VIX or the fear index, we traded up to the upper channel line yesterday for the S&P 500 VIX, but no change in trend, no change in trend for the NASDAQ VIX, and no change in trend for the Russell 2000 VIX. Now, looking at the VIX ETFs, no major change. We were up in the U.S., up in Toronto, and I got a position filled at the open, and so I've got half a position. I'll wait to add to that when we do get a daily buy signal in the VIX. Looking at the major index ETFs, starting in Canada, the iShares for the TSX 60 were unchanged yesterday. Little tiny loss for the Vanguard Canada Total Market ETF, but no change in trend, unlike stocks trading outside of Canada, which were down 0.84% on the day yesterday. There's the Vanguard Total Market ETF in the U.S., down a little over 1%. The Dow was down about less than half of that yesterday. While we did see fall through to the downside for the S&P 500 and for the NASDAQ, which was down 1.85%. Now, we also saw selling in the Russell 2000, small caps and micro caps yesterday. What held up yesterday were the financials, which had an inside day, and the U.S. bank stocks. They also held up on Wednesday. Semiconductors, on the other hand, were down 3.61%. Of course, they will do a reversal today with Micron trading higher, but not enough to change a trend on Thursday. Now, we talk about stocks going up slow and steady like an escalator and coming down fast like an elevator. And of course, Broadcom is doing exactly that at the moment. Now, what's interesting about Broadcom is it not only took out the November lows, but it also traded below the October lows. And so here we are back here in the middle of that open gap. So you would think investors or traders would want to take it down to fill that open gap. And that could happen over the next couple of days. Now, I was flipping through technology stock charts this morning, and this is Uber, and I'm not going to actually pick on Uber, but just if you were a trader or an investor and you saw this happen, that back in September, Uber made a new high, and then a couple of weeks later, it made a lower high, and then we had a sell signal, and then we had a low, and what do you know? We made a lower high. So there we have a lower low, lower high, and what do you know? What happened next? Well, we put in a lower low and lower high, and now we're putting in a lower low, and now we have to see if the pattern's going to change or not, and we need a close above the December high to break that pattern. But since the middle of September, we've been making a pattern, a series of lower highs and lower lows, and when you see that, you've just got to understand that this pattern has to break before you want to be bullish again on the stock. Yes, we can make a new low, and we can have people come back and do some short covering, and then the trade doesn't last very long. And then here we go, making a new low, and we're going to have to look for that pattern to change. So just the fact that the stock gets a buy signal doesn't mean you need to jump in. You probably want to wait and see if the pattern changes at all. Now, looking at Tesla put in a bearish reversal day yesterday. We were hoping it could get to 500. Now, with what the futures were doing in the pre-market and how the market opened, it looked like we were heading towards 500. We got as high as $495.28. So it got pretty close to 500 before sharply reversing and closing lower on the day. We're still on a buy signal here. That's not going to change on Thursday. Looking at the U.S. most actives, we don't have any trend changes here. There's NVIDIA trading down, still holding the November low, unlike Broadcom. There is Big Bear, no change in trend there. No change in trend for Tesla, of course. Plug Power sitting on the edge of a new daily sell signal. We were looking for a close below at $2.14. We closed at $2.16. No change in trend for Open Door. Then we've got Warner Brothers pulling back. Hitting the upper channel line. Then we've got Comcast continuing to move higher. And of course, we talked about Broadcom earlier. There's Pfizer on a sell signal. No change in trend for Ford. And then American Airlines having an inside day on Wednesday. No change in trend for Intel. And then we've got Palantir trading down to the lower channel line. We need a close on Thursday below $177.24. We closed at $177.29 on Wednesday. Looking at the Canadian most actives, there is Canopy Growth making a new high for this move. Of course, if you're in marijuana stocks and you see it doing this, you make sure you're taking money off the table fairly quickly. And of course, I don't think Trump mentioned anything about marijuana in last night's speech. No change in trend for TELUS, no change in trend for Cenovus, inside day yesterday. No change in trend for the TD Bank or TC Energy. No change in trend for Suncor. There's a Bank of Nova Scotia back on a sell signal as of Wednesday's close. We needed to close below $98.89. We closed at $98.51. So back on a sell signal for Bank of Nova Scotia. No change in trend for Bitfarms, still on a sell signal. No change in trend for Barrick. Baytech trading up into the channel, so looking for a close on Thursday above $4.36 to give us a buy signal. No change in trend for Manulife, just trading water up there. It's been up at that level for the past few weeks. Now, while I was recording this video, those big economic numbers came out at 8:30, and so far the market has reacted positively to them, and the futures have continued to move higher on Thursday morning. Have a great day. Next time you'll hear my voice is on Friday morning.